We have on the far right Uju Okafor. She's a manager of client relations for Anglophone West Africa. And for those of you keeping score at home, that would be Nigeria, Ghana, and the Gambia, correct?
Yeah, 7 countries actually.
7 countries. You're the Anglophone representative for all West Africa. Okay. Of the Africa Export Bank, coming to us from Abuja. Also on this panel, we have Fatima Habis Mohammed, the wife of the Nigerian High Commissioner to Sierra Leone. And we're going to turn over now to our moderator, Laura Abiona, who's the External Relations Manager for Baobab Consulting, a really fantastic consulting firm that works with a number of interesting personalities, including the former president of Malawi, Joyce Banda, and quite a number of interesting personalities. And they have offices both here, representatives both here, New York, and I'm sure other places. But I'll turn over to her. She can talk about that, and we'll hear about the experience of these ladies. This will be a very conversational panel. We have about 15 minutes before our next keynote, and we'll open it up very quickly to questions and your comments from the floor, since we have a lot of women in the audience.
Great. Thank you so much. Here, can I have your mic? Yes. Great. Thank you very much, Joseph. Good morning, everyone. Morning. All right, it's nice to see. It looks like we have more or less an all-female audience, so this will be a great conversation to have on the role of women in African development. So first I want to turn it over to our panelists to talk a bit more about the work that you do and where you see the role of women in African development.
Thank you very much. Good morning, my beautiful women here. As she said, my name is Fatima Mohammed Habis, the wife of the Nigerian High Commissioner to Sierra Leone. I serve as a spouse of the Nigerian High Commissioners there. I am a civil servant, but as a woman, that we all know, we have a role to play in terms of our husband's success. So I have to apply for leave of absence from Nigeria to Sierra Leone to support him morally, physically, spiritually, to make sure that, yes, he achieves his goal of being there as an ambassador.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Uju Okafor. I'm Manager Client Relations. I work with African Export-Import Bank, Afrexim Bank. Afrexim Bank is a Pan-African multilateral institution headquartered in Cairo with regional branches in the different African regions. So from where I sit, from the Nigerian office, the Abuja office, we are responsible for the Anglophone West African countries, where we cover about 7 countries, namely Nigeria, Ghana, Gambia, Sierra Leone, Cape Verde, Sao Tome. Out of the 7 countries, I am the country manager for Ghana, for Cape Verde, and for Sao Tome. Like we said, the role of women in the industry cannot, in the general workplace, cannot be underestimated at all. We all know that women are very thorough, yet we get to be looked down on. So you need to just bring up your strong points as a woman. What I do in my place of work to succeed is I make sure that I never drop the ball, because you'll be amazed that when there's a slip, the woman gets blamed more. The men can get away with it, but just because you're a woman, they just feel that you're not able to do it. So in my day-to-day work, I just make sure I never drop the ball. I make sure that nothing stops at my, whatever I need to do, I do and push it out to whoever needs to deal with this stuff immediately. And of course, we also have to keep a balance. The work-life balance is very key. I have 3 children with a husband. So you just need to make sure that you manage and balance. You don't neglect the family. You have the interest of the family at heart, and then you also thrive well in your workplace. I think that has really, really guided me and brought me up to the place where I am today.
Thank you very, very much. All right.
I want to introduce another addition to this panel, who's a little bit tardy but was scheduled. Tina Alton, the CEO of the Chamber for Africa Diaspora Relations, as well as joining the panel. And already also having joining us on this panel is Justina Mutale, who was African Woman of the Year 2012 and the president of the Justina Mutale Foundation on the far right.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome to the panel. Thank you very much for joining us. All right, so first I will start with you. Would you like to introduce yourself and share a bit about your thoughts about the role of women in African development?
Hello, thank you very much. As introduced, my name is Justina Mutale. I'm the founder of the Justina Mutale Foundation. I'm also the president of that foundation, sorry. Sometimes I find it a little odd or ironic that we could even sit here and start to discuss the role of women in Africa especially, because coming from Africa, I grew up and I knew and I saw women showing their capability as natural-born leaders. I come from Zambia. From my mother's family, a woman rules the kingdom, just like Queen Elizabeth, but the men do bow to her, and she controls everything in that kingdom. My father, on my father's side, it's patriarchal, but that did not stop a very assertive, strong, powerful woman to stand up and shake the whole political foundation of Zambia at some point. Also, when we talk about gender equality, I was very surprised, in fact, when I grew up to find that there was a fight for gender equality. Like I said, the women in my background were always very powerful. And there's an untold history about the women of Africa who have their own suffrage movement. We have African women suffragettes, such as Queen Yasantua of Ghana, who fought for the Golden Stool against the British. We have the Igbo women of Nigeria. We have women like Nandi, the mother to Shaka Zulu. She was the power behind the throne. We have women from Ethiopia. We have Amina, also of Nigeria, on whom the TV series Zina, the Warrior King, is based. We have all these powerful, assertive women that ruled the kingdoms of Africa. Long before colonization, the women in Africa were equal or even more powerful than their male counterparts, than their men. But because of colonization, that tipped the scales with the emphasis of turning the subsistence economy to the monetary economy, where women before used to work hand in hand with their husbands to till the land and to eat the food. And the emphasis on the monetary economy to have the men go out and work and bring the bread home took away all the rights of the women in Africa. But that did not stop us. When you think of the situation in Rwanda, after the genocide, the population tipped 40 to 60. A lot of men died, and women found themselves thrust in leadership roles, and it was natural for them to take that up. It was natural for Rwandan women to rise to the occasion. As it is now in the whole wide world, the highest number of women in political participation can be found in Rwanda. My organization, therefore, with this background, my organization, Justina Mutale Foundation, works on instilling leadership skills into women, young women and girls, so they can take up leadership roles. For I know that they do have the capability. And I also believe that every girl has a potential, and every girl should be given an opportunity to rise and excel to her highest potential. They do say, when you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will always fail, but throw it into the swimming pool, and of course it will succeed. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much for that. That was wonderful. All right, so I'd like to turn it over to you just to briefly introduce yourself and just in line with the themes that we've been talking about now, women in leadership, women in work, women's role in our communities and our families. So I'd like to hear more about your thoughts on that in African context.
Okay, thank you. Is this on?
Let's see. I think so, yes.
It's on. Okay. So, good morning, everybody. My name is Tina Alton, and I'm the president for the Chamber for Africa Diaspora Relations, and also the founder for Nations of Women. Personally, I feel that if we take this in two streams, if you will. First of all, everywhere you go in the world, you would find somebody of African descent or somebody who identifies themselves as African, right? And also, we know that even from an economics perspective, just the domestic remittances alone that goes back into the continent of Africa is actually more than what our leaders actually are borrowing from IMF and all those organizations. So therefore, we as Africa or Africans in the diaspora have power, right? And also we know that from the beginning of time, women have always been managing, whether it's managing the home, managing the children, managing family finances, resources, and therefore we do have a significant role to play when it comes to development of whether it's our communities in a nuclear sense or our nation or even the continent on a more macro scale. However, what I find is that more and more women are not sitting at the tables where decisions are being made. And therefore, when it comes to, for example, even medication for, let's say, pregnancies, for example, the tests are not done, some of the tests are done on, animals or male. And so even around health, there is inequality, right? And also when it comes to decisions that affect whether it's our education, whether it's what affects our purse, sanitation, any single thing that really can affect a woman. I personally believe that more and more women are not sitting at the tables where those decisions are being made. How are we going to change that? By us as women recognizing that actually we do have a voice, we do have a place, and we do have a part to play. But it's only going to take showing up that will bring us closer to being able to achieve that equality or that opportunity to actually be a voice in the decision making. Secondly, I believe that whenever a woman feels inspired or enabled, I used to use the word empowered, but I'm now tilting towards the word enabled. But when a woman feels that they are enabled, they are unstoppable. Why? Because when there is a problem in the home, problem in the community, problem in the society, and a woman becomes aware of it, she is much more likely to be the first person to stand up and start mobilizing to change that situation. Those of you who may have children or spouses, how many times do you have to tell your spouse to go to the doctor? Right? They'll be like, oh, it's nothing. But how many times do you have to tell them? Or when you have a little child, or even, let's say, a teenage child, right? My oldest daughter is 33, my youngest is 11. I still have to tell her, when are you going to go and get help on this? When are you going to go and do something about it? So we are always at the forefront of being and wanting to make those changes. However, we often, sometimes, and even in my own experience, years back, would shy away from being at the forefront of actually, making my voice be heard. But those days need to change, because we're, I was looking at the gender, I'll pull it up here and give you the statistics, but it was horrifying, absolutely horrifying when I think it was Sunday. Sunday was when they were sharing women's empowerment.
Oh, yes. International Women's Day.
International
Yes.
Women's Day. And the statistics was just appalling. I think, here we are.
Okay.
No, that's on the coronavirus, but I'll
Oh,
find
no
it.
problem.
It's something like, it take like over 100 years for us to be able to actually, close the gap when it comes to equality in some areas that really shouldn't be, because we're already the fore drivers of those. We also know that when a woman, we're much more entrepreneurial. When I was growing up, you'd always find me with a tray, bars of soap or whatever it is, out selling after school, right? My mom was doing that even after coming home from work. And so excuse me. When women have money, or when a woman's business is flourishing, they're much more likely to reinvest nearly 90% back into their homes, back into their society. So as well as being able to change and making things happen, I encourage you, if you have the opportunities to support a woman in business, then do so, because entrepreneurship is the backbone of every economy. And the more we can help women to flourish, the more they're willing and wanting to actually say, I've got something to say about this, because this affects me as far as entrepreneurship is concerned. So that's my take on that.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much. So thank you, everyone, for sharing. So I think what I've seen as the reoccurring theme is women's inherent leadership abilities. Like even as you were saying, back before colonization, there were women already had very powerful and influential roles in their communities, and we still do. So I think one thing that I'd like to ask and hear your opinion on is how what women being in a patriarchal society can impact how they view that feminine energy that they can bring to their leadership. Sometimes when you're in, male-dominated spaces, you may think that you have to adjust your leadership style so that it's more, respected in the eyes of men. And I think I'd like to hear more about how we can, maintain our pride in that unique ability that we have as women leaders and hone in on that. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Thank you. So my organization, the Justina Mutale Foundation, was founded to skill women and girls into leadership positions so that hopefully by the year 2030 we can secure this very elusive fight for gender equality, which we've been fighting for centuries since the women's suffrage movement. We have the United Nations Convention on the Eliminations of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women in 1979. In 1995, we had the Beijing Platform, of which, of course, this year is what the women's issue is focusing about. This week, I was scheduled to be in New York at the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, and the focus was to review 25 years of the Beijing Platform. At Beijing, when women went to Beijing, for example, I was working in the Commonwealth Secretariat in London at that time, but I remember reading newspapers from back home in Zambia. Some women who had never worn trousers came back from Beijing wearing trousers. And also some women who had never argued with their husband felt so empowered that they thought they had secured the gender equality and came back home now to fight with their husbands. But what I can say is that when women are given the opportunity, as I have already spoken about the women of Rwanda, remember for Rwanda it had, sorry to say that, and may their souls rest in peace, but it had to take the men to die in order for the women to exhibit their leadership potentials, because they found themselves thrust into these leadership positions, taking up leadership of their families, leadership of the farm, leadership of their brother, father, uncles' businesses. In Rwanda before, a woman couldn't do any business, couldn't participate in the community, could not own property without permission from the husband. But these are the women that are driving Rwanda. In fact, from the last statistics I had, 45% of businesses in Rwanda are owned by women. And you've seen that Rwanda now is one of the fastest growing economies in Africa. In fact, it's the most admired African country at the moment because women are at the forefront. So what do we need to do as women to get to where we need to do? We need to learn to lead without seeking permission.
Yes.
You need to learn to lead without seeking permission. The next generation of women will need to dip into themselves and have unshakable self-belief that they can do this because our foremothers did it, and so can we. So why should we? Who are we waiting for? Of course, I too was heartbroken when I read from the World Economic Forum that it would take another, they had this calculator of which I did both as a Zambian and also as a British person. And it showed that it would take another 134 years to achieve gender for both Zambia and the United Kingdom, to an average for both, to 134 years to achieve gender equality. That broke my heart. Coming from a background of very powerful, assertive women, women who used to lead before, some of them who still lead, like I said, a woman up to today leads the kingdom on my mother's side. And I'm thinking, who is setting the pace? And why do we have to wait for somebody to set the pace? Why do we have to wait for these 134 years? So for now, as women, our generation, we have done what we could. Somebody said before, our grandmothers got us the vote. Our mothers got us the pill. And we got a good education and good jobs. So what are we leaving for the millennials, for our children? What message are we giving them? I am a mother of a millennium baby. My daughter was born in the year 2000 at the inception of the Millennium Development Goals, whose focus was on achieving gender equality and the empowerment of women and girls. By the conclusion of the Millennium Development Goals in 2015, no country in the world had achieved that. Yeah. We embarked again on the Sustainable Development Goals. And of course, the priority again is the achievement of gender equality and the empowerment of women. But this started way back in 1946 when the United Nations set that year as the Year of Women. So who is setting the pace? Who are we waiting for? Why are we waiting for permission to lead as women? We shouldn't do that. We have to reach into ourselves and reconnect with those women, women like Yaa Asantewaa, the women of the Igbo Kingdom of Nigeria, Queen Amina, Queen Aseput of, is it Ethiopia, the female pharaohs of Egypt, all of those women that ran this world before they were interrupted. We just have to reach back into them, and we know we have the capability. We need to learn without leading, without seeking permission in order to sit at the table, and in order for us to achieve the much desired 50-50 planet by the year 2030. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Yes,
Sorry. Can I add it? I'm aware of the time, so I'll just be short about it. So I'm in banking, so I'm talking from industry experience. And, you know, for a woman to go far in your place of work, one thing you need to do is you need to be very assertive. Don't just sit there at meetings without saying anything. Say it out. With assertiveness comes self-development as well. You also need to do a lot of personal development, self-development, not just in your field. Try to know a thing of what is happening about you, what is happening globally, what is happening in your own field as well. You would find that gradually you become a point of reference. Even when you're not at meetings, they're going to say, oh, can someone call her? What does she have to say? Have you spoken to her? Well, what is she saying? What are her views? You know, so you become a point of reference, and you earn the respect from others, from everybody in that organization. Being assertive, I think, is the beginning point for us, you know, to come up and be able to take those places of leadership in our various organizations.
Thank you very, very much.
Just 1 minute. I want
Yes,
to,
of course.
yeah.
Yes.
I want to add to what my sister has said. Honestly, I feel very guilty as a woman, and it goes general because we are the problems of ourselves. As a woman, I know my potentiality. I know what I can do. Why can't I go out there to look for my fellow women, to make sure that whatsoever it will take me, to talk to them, to create that awareness? Because in the community where I come from, I'm one from a family of 25. You understand? My father has about 19 men. But the few of us that I guess we need to come together, those very few of us will always come together and initiate. You know, men, they are our babies, they are our friends, they listen to us. In everything you find a woman, she's number one. Whatever a woman wants to do, she have compassion about it. She do it boldly. Whatsoever it will cost her, she doesn't mind. You understand? But we have problem in Africa when you have it like this one. I would like to meet with her. I would like to mingle with her. I would like to brainstorm with her. But as a woman, we feel no, that inferiority is affecting us. I won't go to her. I'm a woman after all. Am I not a woman? Why would I go to her? So men are taking that advantages of us. That is why it's affecting us. If not, I would like to meet with few of you. Let's come together and do everything, because in terms of economics, women. In terms of investments, women. In terms of politics, you see. Even right here, I can give an example. How many of us are here today? Now, because of time factor, look at us. That to say that women, they are always the bedrock of every success in a society. So I feel we need to do that about ourselves. That is why I feel we are very guilty. Yes. I'm guilty. I don't know about you, but I'm guilty of that. So we need to wake up as a woman.
And I'll just add, the President Amina, she's the ex-president of Mauritius, says there's a special place in hell for those women who don't help other women as well. Yeah. And so I think as women leaders, we do have a responsibility, and we should be committed to helping to raise other women as well, to fill that gap, because we're not going to be here forever. And like Justina said, is leading, without permission, but also leading unapologetically. Mm-hmm. We don't have to apologize for being a good leader. We don't have to apologize for being in that position where we're making those decisions and choices. So that's my addition to it.
Yes, thank you all so much. I think that's a beautiful tone about the importance of sisterhood and of mutual support of each other, and making sure that over time, we are learning to gravitate towards each other and to see community in each other and to show genuine love to each other and to empower each other. So I don't know if anyone has the time to see if we have time for questions. We still have time for questions? All right, so I want to turn it over to the audience now. Okay.
Okay, for those of you who weren't here yesterday, we'll take 3 questions and hand there first, and then we will go to the back to the panel for their comment and questions. The Right Honorable Jim Murphy will be speaking after this panel, but he's currently doing an interview, so we have some time for some questions. I believe your hand, and then this lady here.
I'm Ayo. I'm from University of York. I just want to ask, because when one of the speakers spoke, you said we don't need permission, that women should just go forward. And last year, International Women's Day, we had a women's forum in the hospital where I worked, and some of the men were there, especially the chief executive, who was male. And he was emphasizing that for women to actually be empowered, it's very important that they need the support of men in a men's world. And this was, he cited this case. He said he had a friend who was in HR, and he said that if they are recruiting women for leadership posts, that is, even though it's a blind application, they can tell which application is a woman's zone and which one is a man's zone. He said, his friend said, man will say, I can do this. This is how I will do this, and this is how I will do it. But women will say, I might do it this way, and I have to think of linking with some people. And when they see it, they know this is a woman's application. So he said that is affecting women in going into leadership position. So he was emphasizing that it's very important that women work side by side with the men to push them forward. So I just want you to comment on that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I mean, that is very true.
Sorry, we'll take 3 questions and then we'll go to the panel. So there's a potpourri of questions out there.
Thank you. My name is Karen, and I work in HR in the public sector. I'm really impressed by the panel and the panel's views, and certainly it's an agenda that needs advancing. What I do want to hear from the panel is how you are engaging women, African women in the diaspora, to move forward with this agenda.
Good morning. I just want to say thank you so much for the organizer of this event. And you just made my day, ladies, this morning. I've been blessed. I wasn't going to come, but I decided to cancel my meeting to come here today. I don't have a question, but I have something I want to ask you. We need to break barriers. This is the barrier. I said it last year here. And I want all of you, I want your communication, I want your card, because I would not be able to go there to get it. So if you don't mind, can you give me your card and then we can communicate, because this is the only way we can communicate. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
Thank you very much. Okay.
I want to
Oh, microphone.
respond to the diaspora.
Okay.
I mean, the microphone's there also, but yeah.
So for the first question, for those of you who are scientists, there is research to show that it always takes a woman and a man to get here. It always takes a man and a woman to make a baby. Yes, there is research to prove, because you're the research and you're the results. So if it takes a man and a woman to make life, to bring human life into existence, then we can't lead, we can't grow, we can't go forward, ignoring each other. It always takes us, first of all, actually being comfortable to say, you know what, I'm going to ask for help, right? And it really doesn't matter whether it's male, female, as far as the person you're asking help for has the capacity and capability and able to help you, then you need to be able to look past that. That is something you owe to yourself as a woman, as a man, as a human being, as a leader, to be able to look past who it is that is supporting you or who it is that is helping you. Because if you don't ask, guess what? Nothing will change. If you don't change anything, nothing changes, right? The only constant is to change is when you don't do anything. If you don't change anything, nothing changes. So we have to be able to move past that and be able to recognize that we have to move hand in hand. Obviously, not necessarily relegating, your leadership or your role or your voice or going to seek permission. That's not what it means. But you know what? If there's a great guy in the office who is able to support you, engage them, bring them in, give them the opportunity to actually contribute. I say delegate. Delegating means, or multitasking means delegating. Get other people involved, right? But if it's a chicken and an egg situation. I've got to where I am because I had to move past the thing of, my male counterparts. They're there to support me. You can't deny somebody who wants to support you. Simple.
Sorry, can I add a bit to that? So that for the first speaker, that leads us back to what I was saying about being assertive. It's like our empowerment is really in our hands. It depends on how we handle it. We just need to be able to speak up. We need to be assertive. However, in being assertive, you need to also apply some wisdom to it. Mm-hmm. If you're working with men, and there's some that are strong points, get close to them, see how they do it. The person who said they can distinguish between CVs sent in by women and CVs sent in by men, it's just because a lot of women are not assertive. Mm-hmm. They're neither here nor there. Something that happened to me personally was, I think about 10 years ago, I was going for a role. No, about 15 years ago, I was going for a role in Nigeria in the bank. And I happened to know somebody who worked in the HR. And 2 days before the interview, I get a call. And they say, Uju, don't even bother. Now, this is a lady who was the company secretary. I'm a lawyer by profession. It was a lady who was the company secretary. Said, don't even bother coming. Company secretary says, this role is for a man. She doesn't want any woman. And I'm like, why? They gave me some reasons. At first, I was a bit discouraged. But I told myself, why? Whatever is what, let me go for the interview. Let me speak. So I went for the interview. We were only 2 women at the interview. I remember we were about 10 men and then 2 women. I went for the interview, finished the interview. She tried to harass me. Not really harass me, but she was a bit hostile. But I held my own and I, answered it in a professional manner. The interview was fine. And lo and behold, barely 24 hours, they called me. I was shocked. Even my friend who was a staff there was also shocked. If I had chickened out and I didn't go, I won't even stand that have the opportunity. So we just need to be assertive, and in doing so, also recognize the people we work with and see who we know we can benefit from and get close to the person.
Yeah, thank you for all the questions, starting with the one about women's assertiveness in the way that they write their CVs. And also, first of all, we have to acknowledge that the world is made of opposites, and in order to get to anywhere, the two opposites may need to come together. So as gender activists, what we are fighting for is not that the women take over the world. We are fighting for what we call a 50-50 planet. Mm-hmm. And this is an idea that at every high-level decision-making table, we should have 50% perspective of the of the female gender and 50% perspective of the male gender. For years, for centuries, the world has been run on the perspectives of the male gender. And as we know, the male gender is most of the time, or the masculine spirit, so to speak, is more on the me side. But this is the time when we need to raise the feminine spirit. Because women are about the community. They are about bringing everybody together, about looking at the welfare of everyone. So we are looking for a 50-50 planet where yin and yang can come together. That way we can balance the world. We can hopefully sort out some of the problems that we are having at the present in the world. Women need to reassert themselves in everything that they do. When you apply for a job, you have to list all the details, every little detail of everything that you've ever done that concerns, applies to the kind of job that you are applying for. And when you talk about an engaging agenda, what we are doing, like I said, my organization was set up to skill young women and girls into leadership positions. So we provide training, entrepreneurship and leadership training to get women into political participation, women economic empowerment. We also do conferences at which we talk about women. We are part of the United Nations Commission on the Status of Women, the Commonwealth Women's Forum, the United Nations High-Level Panel on Gender Equality, the European Union. We get into everything so we can have an input. In fact, my organization was one of the diaspora organizations that were involved in the technical consultations for the new Africa gender policy by the African Union. And on top of that, what my foundation does, we have a special program, a scholarship program for highly academically talented young women from Africa to access higher education around the world. That is to empower them, because even though there's a lot of efforts towards educating the girl child, but that's on the early years up to maybe secondary school, 12 years old or 14 years old. But what will a child do in the fourth industrial revolution with just a secondary school? So my organization is taking them up higher to the next level, and also to go around the world so they can have a global perspective which they can bring back to Africa and tackle global issues from a global mindset.
Thank you very much. And we're going to be chatting a bit more about the fourth industrial revolution in the tech panel coming up. So thank you very much. Thank you all very much for this panel, and thank you all for being a wonderful audience.
Let's give them all a warm round of applause.